When I left for deployment, I promised my wife, Emma, and our 6-year-old son, Noah, that everything I was doing was for them. The day I boarded that plane, Noah was waving from Emma's arms, wearing the little jacket I'd bought him last Christmas. I still remember his small voice calling out, "Come back soon, Daddy." I thought about that voice every night when the desert winds howled outside our camp. Every letter, every video message, was a reminder of what waited for me back home, a family, a reason to endure the chaos of war. The months dragged by, each one marked by the same dusty heat and the same hunger for home. I sent money every month, more than enough for Emma and Noah to live comfortably. She told me she was saving some, maybe even planning a small family vacation once I returned. I held on to that thought during the nights when explosions echoed in the distance and I wondered if I'd ever see them again. But one morning, near the end of my tour, my commanding officer walked into the tent and handed me a phone. His face told me something was wrong before I even heard the words. "Your son is in the ICU, Emma said, her voice trembling. He collapsed at school." My world stopped. I didn't hear anything else. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, flights, and a deep ache in my chest that no doctor could fix. When I finally landed home, I didn't go to the house first. I went straight to the hospital. The sterile smell hit me the moment I stepped in. Machines beeped softly in the background. When I saw Noah lying there, tubes running from his small body, I felt something inside me crack. He looked so pale, so fragile. The nurse told me he'd been admitted 2 days earlier after fainting in class. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, and infection, they used words that made no sense for a child who should have been cared for, fed, and loved. Emma wasn't there. I asked the nurse, and she told me she'd stepped out, for a bit. I waited an hour before she finally walked in. Her hair was done up, her nails freshly manicured, wearing clothes that didn't look like someone struggling with a sick child. I stood there, torn between rage and disbelief. "What happened to him, Emma?" I asked quietly, trying to keep my voice from breaking. She avoided my eyes. "He got sick," she said. "The doctors don't really know." I interrupted, "Noah's malnourished. He hasn't eaten properly in weeks." "Where were you?" She looked cornered, defensive. "I was handling things. You don't understand how hard it's been while you were gone." I wanted to scream, but my voice stayed calm in a way that frightened even me. "Where's the money, Emma?" "The $47,000 I sent home." Her face went white. "It's gone," she whispered. My sister needed help. And I went to Europe for a few weeks to clear my head." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. Europe, while our son was starving. While I was crawling through sand and gunfire to make sure they were safe. I felt something cold settle over me, a kind of clarity that comes after the heart breaks too much to feel pain. I didn't shout. I didn't hit her. I just walked past her and sat beside Noah's bed. I held his little hand and whispered, "I'm here now, buddy. Daddy's home." That night, I slept in the hospital chair, refusing to leave him alone. Over the next few days, I learned more than I wanted to. The rent was behind. The car had been sold. Credit cards maxed out. Emma had spent nearly everything I'd earned on vacations, parties, and online shopping. Her sister had joined her on a healing trip to Italy, all while Noah's teacher had been sending messages about his worsening health. None of which she'd told me. When Noah was finally stable, I filed for custody. Emma screamed, cried, and begged, but the truth was already written in medical reports and bank statements. I froze our joint accounts, sold what was left of the car, and moved into a small apartment near the hospital. I didn't care about the money anymore. I cared about Noah waking up to a warm meal and a father who would never let him down again. Weeks later, Emma tried to contact me, leaving voicemails about wanting to fix things. I never called back. I'd given her every chance to be the partner and mother she'd promised to be, and she chose luxury over love. One night, sitting beside Noah while he slept, I thought about everything I'd lost, my savings, my marriage, my faith in the person I thought I knew. But then Noah stirred, turned toward me, and murmured, "Daddy, are you staying this time?" That broke me. I took his tiny hand and said, "Forever." It's been months since then. I've rebuilt what I could. I work part-time while Noah goes to therapy and school. He laughs again, slowly learning to trust the world that let him down. Sometimes, when I look at the scars war left on me, both inside and out, I realized the real battle wasn't fought overseas. It was fought here, in a hospital room, beside a boy who reminded me what love really means. When I sent money home every month during my deployment, I imagined it helping my family live comfortably. I pictured Emma taking Noah to the park, maybe buying him the soccer ball he'd been asking for. I thought of them eating good meals, of my savings going toward a home we could call our own when I got back. Every transfer, every letter, every promise I made was for them. But when I finally came home and saw the truth, it felt like the world I'd been fighting for had turned to dust. It started with the shock of seeing my son in the ICU. Noah was pale, hooked to machines that beeped in slow, steady rhythm. His hair was thinner, his cheeks sunken. He looked so small under the hospital blanket that I almost didn't recognize him. The nurse told me he'd been brought in for severe dehydration, infections, and signs of neglect. My mind couldn't process it. How could this happen while Emma was home with him, while I was sending more than enough money for his care? When Emma arrived at the hospital later that evening, her expression wasn't guilt, it was irritation. She didn't even hug Noah first. Instead, she looked at me like I'd caught her doing something inconvenient. I stood there, exhausted from travel, my hands trembling from rage and disbelief. "I need you to tell me what's going on," I said quietly. "Where did all the money go, Emma?" Her lips pressed together, and she gave a small, dismissive laugh. "You don't understand how hard it's been. I needed a break. I needed time away. Time away," I repeated. "Our son is lying here, and you needed time away." She looked away from me then, her voice smaller but still defensive. "My sister invited me to Europe. I thought it would be good for me, to reset. You don't know how lonely it's been here without you." I couldn't speak for a few seconds. I stared at her, remembering the photos she'd sent months earlier, beaches, fancy dinners, her smiling with sunglasses, cocktails in hand. I'd assumed they were old photos, just memories she was posting to feel better. I never imagined she'd been abroad while Noah was sick. "Did you take him to the doctor before he ended up here?" I asked. She didn't answer. The silence told me everything. When I checked the bank statements later, I felt sick. Flights, hotel bookings, restaurants, spa payments, all traced to the money I'd sent home. Over $40,000 gone in less than a year. And not a single hospital bill paid until now. The school had even emailed her about Noah's absence and weight loss, but she'd ignored them. I sat beside Noah's bed. All night, unable to sleep. His little hand felt warm against mine, and every breath he took reminded me that I'd been too far away to protect him. The guilt sat heavy in my chest. I'd been fighting a war for people I didn't know while my son was losing a war for his health back home. The next morning, I made calls. I spoke with the hospital social worker, a lawyer, and my commanding officer. I wasn't going to lose my child to negligence or to a mother who cared more about vacations than her family. I filed for emergency custody while Noah was still recovering. Emma called me heartless, accused me of ruining her life, but I didn't care. She had already destroyed something far more important than money or reputation, trust. For weeks, I stayed by Noah's side. I fed him, talked to him, and watched color slowly return to his cheeks. He started to smile again, though weakly. He asked about his mom once, and I told him she needed time to think about what she'd done. I couldn't lie to him, but I couldn't let him carry her mistakes either. When the court hearing came, Emma tried to act remorseful. She cried in front of the judge, saying she didn't realize how serious Noah's condition was. But the financial records, the medical reports, and even the school's complaints spoke louder than her tears. The judge granted me full custody and restricted her visitation until she sought therapy and parenting classes. Watching her walk out of that courtroom, I didn't feel satisfaction, only a hollow ache. I moved us into a small apartment close to the hospital, using the last of my savings. I didn't care about starting over. Every time Noah laughed, it felt like the beginning of something worth rebuilding. We started routines, simple ones. Breakfast together, reading at night, going to the park on weekends. It wasn't the life I imagined, but it was real, grounded, and honest. Sometimes, when I looked at the photos Emma had posted online, her smiling in foreign cities while our son lay sick in a hospital bed, I realized how blind I'd been. Love had made me trust without question, had made me believe that sending money was the same as being present. But now I knew better. Money can build a house, but it can't build a home. Months later, Emma sent an email apologizing, saying she was getting help and wanted to see Noah again someday. I didn't reply. Maybe one day, when Noah is older, I'll let him decide if he wants that. For now, I'm protecting him from more disappointment. Every night, I check on him before bed. I watch him breathe, peaceful and safe, and I remind myself of the promise I made that first night in the ICU, to never let anyone hurt him again. The war may have taken my sleep and peace, but this battle at home taught me something deeper.